Good evening, everyone. This is Naijha Wright-Brown, and I am so excited this evening because I am speaking to two vegan superstars in the vegan fair and vegan fest game, not including myself, because I'm a superstar in that game. And we're going to have this conversation about all things vegan street fairs and veg fest. So let's get this party started with some bio readings. So this evening we have Jessica Shea, and she's a native New Yorker, just like myself. I'm from the Bronx. Right now, she's living in LA. She went out to the West Coast, okay, with her two young children, husband Ken, and three spunky cats. She's also the CEO and founder of Vegan Street Fair and Vegan Exchange events based out of Los Angeles, California. As a vegan for almost a decade, Jessica strives to mainstream veganism by making it as accessible to as many populations as possible by providing free events that are child friendly, ADA compliant, low cost, and public transportation adjacent. That's what this is all about. Jessica spends her downtime exploring the outdoors with her children, taking salsa lessons, okay, watching TV drama, crafting with her cricket.
Know about it. Cricket is a cricket.
Cricket. Spending time with her friends or playing board games with her husband. Okay, thank you for joining us today, Jessica. Right. I'm so happy to meet you. And then we'll talk about how I met Jessica.
Right, we're gonna talk about that.
And then we have Omowale Adewale. He is the founder and organizer with Black VegFest. He is a champion boxer and two-time champion kickboxer and mixed martial artist. Wale is the author of An Introduction to Veganism and Agricultural Globalism, a Marley research scholar and certified in plant-based nutrition. He is the editor of The Brother Vegan, debuting this fall. Since 2001, Wale has been the executive director of GAME, Inc., a small not-for-profit that addresses socio-economic issues among poor, working-class, Black and brown people in New York City. Thank you for joining us, Wale. And again, I'm Naijha Wright-Brown, speaking with these great guests on Jane Unchained News. Let's get it started. Let's talk about your journeys, starting with Jessica. How did this all start?
Well, when I went vegan in 2011, I went back home to New York for 4 months, and it was like a brand new city to me. So I was trying to eat at as many vegan places as I could. And at the time, there was no, like, the apps existed, but they would send me to like closed venues. And it really was like, this is so frustrating. Oh my God. I just spent an hour on a subway and you're going to tell me this place doesn't even exist? I don't know.
It's rough. It's rough.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to create something myself. Like, I knew what the hell I was talking about. And I actually started developing an iPhone app for a little bit. And in the process of developing this app, I had input all these places in LA that were vegan or vegan friendly. And it occurred to me that like I could live here for 10 years and never eat at all these places. So when the idea for an event happened, the way that it happened is that the app went away. Very long story short, the app disappeared. But I was like, I still have this list of places. Like, I'm not going to be able to get to them, but maybe I can create an event where they come to me. So because I'm a New Yorker and because street fairs are a part of our culture, I was like, I'm not going to have it be like what already exists. I want it to be like what I'm used to, the community. Like you go to San Gennaro in Little Italy and you feel like you're a part of that. You feel like you're Italian for the day. People welcome you with open arms and they're like, yes, like come through, eat the food, enjoy the music, be a part of this. And that's exactly what I wanted for street fair. I wanted it to be the exact same vibe, but with a vegan twist. I wanted it to be, just exciting and mainstream, like I like to say, because, up until that point, veganism looked a specific way. Right. And I just wanted to break away from that altogether. So that's really how Vegan Street Fair started.
Well, let's take a look at that. I have a video here and, we're not at any, you're going to have a street fair, I understand, but let's look at what the vibe is over there.
Nice.
Major energy, major energy. Love it,
Thank you.
love it, love it. Wale,
Yeah.
Black VegFest.
Yeah.
Was that what was your journey like?
Well, I first started go back, starting being vegetarian when I was about like 15. So it's about like 26, 27 years ago. And then just only in 2013, I went vegan, and because I had cut out dairy. I tell a lot of folks I cut out dairy, and that was the biggest impact that I've had, in the whole vegan process. Once I dropped that, I didn't even have chronic bronchitis. So when people ask me, like, what are the benefits? I always tell them that, I always tell them, recovery. I'm like, wow, just because I'm always checking in with my body, and everything. So when I was going to go vegan, I really was, it was really a leap of faith. I'm going to go fight, and then I'm going to go vegan. And I literally had to dismiss everything that I had heard already. It wasn't like I was having a whole group of people and having this conversation about transitioning. So it was just with myself. And I said, you know what? We're going to go vegan. I had withdrawal. I haven't met too many people that had, with withdrawal. I could have also, just been sick, but my body at the time was I was really just juicing a lot. And then when, getting all this, it's like all this, mucus was coming out.
Oh, wow.
In this period of, 3-4 days. And I felt so much better. I think I felt incredible, like after those 3 or 4 days. And so I always want to give people that. And who always ask me these questions, and I say, and I always feel like really incredible, optimistic, even though I know that everybody's journey or what's going to motivate them on this journey is going to be different. I always felt like, I can definitely help somebody, I can bring up, not just chronic bronchitis, but also hypertension that I've been dealing with literally before I was 18. I was diagnosed as, having hypertension. So that entire process, I'm vegetarian before that. When I go vegan, I go through that process. And somebody had just asked me, like, why don't you go vegan? You're not even doing dairy. You're not drinking dairy. You occasionally getting stuff and, in the cakes. And it was just that. So I would tell people, like, I wasn't even doing dairy, but just the little amounts that's found, the casein and the whey that's found inside the products when they're just making the cakes, huge impact on you.
Yes.
So that's what I noticed. Because, you notice your body more than anything.
Right.
Of course, the benefits, transcend you and help the and help the animals. And so that was the key. That's when I went, said I'm gonna be vegan ethically. I had thought being vegetarian at the time when I was young, like, well, this is the best I can do, but find out it definitely wasn't. It was a beautiful journey. But 2013, that was just kind of, I thought about doing Black VegFest because I was doing, several different VegFests speaking, but recognized immediately that the VegFest is so white, you know what I mean? and it was basically like, how can I get more of my people, here? Because like instantly, like I know vegans, before I even went vegan, I knew vegans.
Right.
And then when I became vegan, I wanted to express that and have that community. We did some vegan parties from 2014, but essentially 2013 to 2018, I just saved the domain blackvegfest.com and blackvegfest.org. And then I was like, listen, and my team kept telling me, like, this ain't the right time to be doing it right now. You're not gonna be able to pull this off in 3 months.
You had the same problem we had.
Okay.
Probably another year, bro. You know what I'm saying? What about 6 months? That ain't even gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So finally got it right 2018, and it really was a leap of faith. And I definitely, I do thank Jessica. You know, she helped me with definitely a lot of resources, incredibly resourceful. You know, so and it just expressing and seeing the beautiful work. You know, the conversation that we had, Naijha. You know what I'm saying? Was incredible, just in terms of just trying to just build, you know what I'm saying, especially I was working with vegan organizers, but especially finding vegans of color is incredible. So that's why I had to really thank Jessica. So she was just like, oh, such and such, blah, blah, blah. You know, people who can help, you know what I mean, we're helping. You know what I mean? People
Right. Jessica, you was an inspiration. Okay, cool. And I think that's a good thing. You know, when people jump in and help each other when they just starting out. I'm gonna show y'all a clip of Black VegFest, and my daughter is in there. She was getting her face painted, so I feel very special about that. All right, so here we go. Nice.
No matter rain, shine, tornado, I'm gonna be at the Black VegFest. You best believe that.
Hi, it's Cory Booker. I'm here at the Black Vegan Fest. It's just great to be out here, folks talking about healthy eating, healthy lifestyles, people making choices to really embrace the passion of vegan diet.
Hi, my name's Carrie. I use pronouns they, them, and theirs. I'm excited to be at Black VegFest. I'm recently a vegan, and I'm interested in learning more about the intersectionality of oppressions between animals and humans, and also get recipes and be around other vegans of color.
So instead of people being like, Black VegFest, you need to be like, damn, they showed out. You understand intersectionality on a whole other scope.
There goes my daughter. She's jumping.
Oh, I've been vegan for like 2.5 years, and I'm always in Atlanta going to those vegan restaurants. So I just wanted to do something different. And it's nice here. Nice here. So I'm happy to be out here in New York. It's time to come.
Major. And I went both years. So, and I had such a great time. So great job. Now, of course I gotta talk about Vegan Self-Fest. Okay.
Of course.
So when me and Brenda, my partner, got together and decided that we were gonna do this Veg Fest, it was the same thing. We were looking for more culture, a multicultural type of celebration around veganism, and we weren't getting that at some Veg Fests that were especially in the city of Baltimore. I mean, that's unheard of, just having a vet. If you got to go somewhere, it's going to be in the county somewhere, and then the closest one was Baltimore County, and then you had what was going on down in DC. So 3.5 months, same with us. We was going to do this little shindig, chose a building, and was thinking about a couple of dozen vendors, and then that thing just hurricane into something major, and I'm gonna just show you a clipping of one of the years that the festival took place, and I think that's when we looked at it like, wow, we have arrived. So here we go.
anybody that does question the protein myth and things of that, like I said, like vegans just aren't filling up the hospitals.
Vegan so fast. Thank you.
That's right. Vegans are not filling up the hospital. There you have it, everybody. Now let's get into the conversation for all those aspiring festival planners. Let's talk about it. Jessica, Wale, how do you measure the success of your fair and festival? What are you actually looking at? Are you looking at numbers? Are you looking at feedback? What how do you feel in terms of measuring the success of a fair or festival?
You want me? Okay, let me. I'm the rookie. I'm the rookie. I'll go first, though. I'll go first.
I can go first. It's fine.
Jessica, let us know. You got some. How many years have you been doing this?
This would have been my 6th year.
Oh no. Okay, I'm the professional here.
You the okay.
We're looking at numbers. I'm gonna tell you right now. We're looking at numbers. So when we had the 10,000 plus mark, we like, okay, yeah, we got the numbers. All right, I'll let you go, Jessica.
God. So it's weird because I feel like every year it changes. And I know you probably feel the same, right? Like some years, I always say that events are like the real estate market. Some events are buyers markets and some events are sellers markets. So for example, my very first event in the rain too, by the way, rain and hail. So, I feel you. Like we're definitely, I feel like it's a good sign when that happens to your event. It's like christens your event. I don't know.
We haven't experienced that yet. My partner Brenda got it on lock. She got the weather. Always got the weather.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, do what you do. Like,
Yes. But that first year, there were 10,000 people on the street and only 44 vendors. So you can imagine the vendors loved it. The attendees hated it. Not all of them. Everybody was really happy to have an event like a free vegan event. And then the next year it flipped. Or the next year it was a little bit more even, and then you kind of always shift what your personal reasons are for why this is a successful event. So it's not numbers for me necessarily. It's like, it's what I see after. It's all of the social media. It's all of the buzz that gets written about it. It's, the thousands and thousands of posts that people are tagging on Instagram and Facebook. It's all the videos that come out of it. And that's a hard thing to measure. I can't really say.
Important. That's important.
Because that's why we do this. That's why I do this. I do this not just for the moment. I do this for the ripple effect of what this shows people afterwards. Like I want people to see this on social media specifically and be like, wait a minute, this is what veganism is. This is dope. I could do this. But if nobody sees it, then it doesn't really matter. So to me, success for me is built into social media. I guess it's probably
true.
No, that's a good point. You got your numbers and then you got your social engagement and the feedback. Omowale.
It's tough trying to catch y'all. So I'm not even going. So we're not even going to try. But for me, it definitely numbers. I mean, we got to have numbers because it's going to tell us if people are listening to us, or people are working with us, or people are satisfied. And I mean. Definitely the vendors. We always want to cater to. We especially try to put up the caterers. The vendors. The vendors to me is super key because it's going to make everybody else happy. And we got to be honest. So before anything else, like I was a speaker, but I knew when I was going. I'm looking to try the food first before I'm listening to me or anyone else.
It's about the food. When you get that, people have come to us about some virtual vegan Soul Fest, and it's like it's about the food. You can't do that virtually. I'm sorry.
It's so we wrapping our heads around it, but it's also the first one, and sometimes I'm really just so easy to please. When it comes to this, because like we just get a handful of folks and we like, I didn't even know y'all was gonna come because it rained so hard the first year, right? I thought we was gonna get not really, anyone. I was ready to just straight up and be like, listen, people were telling me to, close it up even on the day of. Yeah, believe it. Even the day of.
Yeah, you had that look on your face. You just got to push through it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But also, what type of what elected officials are people who are using fire, using power, or masquerading around, with power, and so what they leverage in the community and how they have impact on people. So we want to make sure that elected officials are contacted, that they know that we exist, so they can't say that we don't exist, because now we become something that needs to be placed in front of the community, right? So, elected officials at the end of the day, whether we like them or we don't, they're supposed to represent us and do their best job, for us. So I'm always hoping that they're going to let other folks, know. So we've been getting to elected officials little by little. Like the first time, Eric Adams, I just knew, I said, we got to get with Eric Adams. We got to link with him. He's vegan,
That was a smart move. Exactly. Your local government. Absolutely.
Yes.
We love seeing the mayor and the council folks and people like that at the events. I mean, it shows okay, despite whether you're vegan or not, and the fact that Eric Adams is vegan, he needs, and then you had Cory Booker there. Yeah, they need to be there, especially for the people to show and represent. So definitely very, very important. Yeah, so that's amazing. So what did you measure your success on for the past couple of years? Because you've only been doing it for 2 years. Is numbers, or just your elected officials, or
really numbers and seeing Black folks? I'm gonna be honest with you. If we'd have had Black VegFest, I'm gonna be honest with everybody, and we'd have had like 75% of the people would have been white, we'd have felt like, okay, we got 5,000 people here, but 75% of them are white at Black VegFest. This is problematic. You know what I mean? Be straight up honest. Now, I never even had that in my mind that the people weren't going to come, right? Except when the rain was coming down. When I was seeing the rain, then I'm like, oh man, folks ain't trying to get wet. Man, when the Black people when my people came through with umbrellas on, umbrellas, and it's like somebody took an incredible pic, it was posted, and of course we've saved it. You can see so many people just like bearing that it was heavy rain. That was the most rain that day. That was the most rain. Time still.
Yeah, everybody came into the building to listen to the lectures, because I remember I was I was there with my mom. She lives in New York. And that was, her first time being at a Veg Fest in New York, because she usually comes out to Baltimore to the Vegan Soul Fest. So to be in the building, and I'm going to get to that next question too, indoor versus outdoor, because every year, with the exception of the first year, we've had our festival outdoor. Because I always think of a festival being outdoors, not indoors. If it's indoors, I'm thinking expo. So, I want to get your ideas around that, because the weather, it can be an issue. But when you're looking for a location, and this is again for the aspiring event planners, is that significant? Like, we have to have an indoor-outdoor concept, or no, it's outdoors, So Jessica, is your fair mostly outdoors, or is there...
Yeah, I mean, my event has to be outdoors because it's called Vegan Street Fair. So I don't really have a choice to be like, here's Vegan Street Fair in a convention center. That would just be silly. But there is, living in LA is very different than when I used to live in New York. The weather is so unpredictable. Any given moment, it could be raining, it could be 98 degrees. And we did a Vegan Street Fair in New York, actually, now that I'm remembering. That that weather was really rough. It was 98 degrees. And at that time, we didn't have, I don't even want to go into the very difficult obstacles of trying to run a vegan street fair in New York, where you're like,
well, I'm Omowale. I know you know about that, because I seen you in action the second year. So yeah.
And I was even he could tell you, I was like, this is going to be really hard, because I had just gone through it. And he was like, I got this. And I was like, oh, get it. I was excited. Go do that.
I remember him telling me that, and I had not met you, but I know when he said it, I was like, that is so cool.
Oh, I mean, because look, we talk. I mean, shifting gears very slightly, but it's like when your community, when your people, like you're from New York, I'm from New York. Step one, we're people of color. Step two, in our cultures, like extending your hand to the next person is important, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you need to make mistakes. But for me, it's like, yo, whatever I got, you got. Like, let's talk about it. Whatever questions you have, let's go through it. And oddly enough, when I do that with other people who are not people of color, sadly, they take advantage of that, which we can totally talk about that any other day. But it's really fascinating to me that you give of yourself and you give of yourself, and luckily with Omowale, like I was so grateful to just give my time, because what he was doing was so needed and necessary. And I remember too, it's just so shifting gears and tangenty, but whatever. I remember the backlash that you got, where it was like people were so mad about this word, and I'm just like,
oh yeah, like calm down with all of that. Like, it's not that serious.
It was just really frustrating, and it was like,
that's when you know you're doing something right.
It's very true. It's very true. So anyway, like talking, when I did the Vegan Street in New York, it was really hard because New York doesn't give permits for events that are outside of like grandfathered in events. So it's there's a moratorium, and that's what I had told you. I was like, there's a moratorium. I don't know how you can do it. So when you did it, I was just like, yo, like this is meant to be for you to have been able to do it the way that you did it. For me, it wasn't. And like, I didn't go back to New York. Like LA is good for me. The weather's consistent. I don't worry about rain too much, except in the winter. And it happens because I have a weekly event now, and it rains on it. We just have contingency plans now, like I know how to set my event up. So, and you've been through it. You've been through the rain. So you've been through the worst of it. And now if it rains again, you're prepared. So it's just a matter of like knowing what it is exactly that you want for your event to feel like. For me, it's outside. You have to be outside. Otherwise, it's not the same. And plus, on top of that, you can't really have people cooking food inside. So there's that component too.
Right. Yeah. And for us, we've had different locations with Vegan Soul Fest, where for a couple of years we were on a college campus, and we had the advantage of being outdoors and indoors, so we can have lectures in like the auditorium and cooking demos in the cafeteria, and then outdoors you have your, so that was like the ideal setup. But of course we outgrew that, and then we just had to go, at the Baltimore City recreational parks. And then that's when we really had to start dealing with, city and special events and things like that. For the aspiring festival planners, what is your take on the marketing strategies for your festivals? Because when we're planning Vegan Soul Fest, I'm always looking at the two different strategies that have to happen. Because sometimes people put things together and they do it in 3 months, which it can be done, but ideally is that the plan for a big fest? You really want to try to do it 9 months, if not a year out, because you have to have a strategy for the vendor marketing to get the vendors in, and then you have to have the strategy for the attendees. What is your take on that?
Yeah, it's just so true. We definitely need you need sufficient amount of time, and I think a year, it sounds like a lot to some people if you're just jumping in it. A year, like when I hear a year. When I heard a year before, I was like, no. But you really, realistically, if you're really trying to do this properly, you need a year. I think the first thing we start going after is really, we want to put out the event. And I think you're right. I think we really do a lot of the things cohesively, but also independently. Like, we promote to people, let folks just kind of know that Black VegFest is coming. And that's difficult now, so it wouldn't happen. So, for just the 2 years that we done, and we did do the Black VegFest in the Bronx, last year and this year. Try to do it this year. We did not do it this year because coronavirus. But we recognize that we got to be specific with the vendors and reach out to the vendors and try to get that. And that can be tough. It grew on us. The vendors, it doubled. From 2018 to 2019, And y'all was seeing those numbers, for like 100 vendors. We didn't start seeing those numbers, until the second one, of course. But it really will just double, and just based off of just, word of mouth. It is New York City. And then, and you just really got to strategize around it. To be honest, a lot of this stuff is, the most difficult things to really plan around was working with the city. And I'm going to tell you something. To do a Black VegFest, I think becomes it's one of those key things, especially around this particular time, right? In talking about this, because it is there's so much anxiety because New York City will shut your event down, right? Straight up. And I've literally been doing events for about 20 plus years, right? Not at the magnitude of Black VegFest. But I've been doing those events and, outside and, getting a sound permit, so on and so forth. And the city makes it really difficult because sometimes they're just not on the same page. It's just another, everybody asks me, what is the most difficult thing? I'll just answer that question right now. Doing an event in the city, working with the city. Forget it. Forget it.
And I thought my city was bad. They're really not like bad. I think, just the movement, like getting people to move is the issue. Like, okay, how long is this going to take? You know what I'm saying?
Like it's like they don't want, it's almost like they don't want the event. And then, you know what I mean? And I'm talking to people and they really are like, some folks are just like, we only here because you fucking with Eric Adams. Borough President Eric.
Okay. Got it. Okay, you got to come with the strength. Okay, I got it.
Right. You got to come with political power anytime you come in, anytime you come in there. If we came in there, like we ain't working with no elected officials, go ahead and try that. They will be like, bye. Because they didn't want to do it when even then. They just,
it's Black. It's a vegan fest. Yeah, it's too much going on. Jessica, what do you have to say?
No, I was just raising my hand because I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't come in with no elected officials, and New York was like, "Who are you?" I would never forget this. I walked into a what is it called? It's like the HOA for the city, the district meeting. You know what I'm talking about? Like you have to go into community board. Thank you.
Okay.
Right on the tip of my tongue. Originally I wanted to do mine on West 8th Street because I went to NYU and I was like, yo, this is my area. Like
West 8th Street. Yeah.
You imagine like just that one street. And I knew you could only do one street at the time. Right. So I came through and I was like, I'm gonna sit with these people and they have all these questions. And I walked in, the only, brown girl up in here, a whole board of white people, older white people. And I knew, how you walk in and you scan the room real quick. And sometimes people don't understand how that works because they don't have to do that. Right. I walked in and I was like, fuck. Like I knew what I was up against the second I walked in. And sure enough, when I walked in, they told me, who are you? What's your connection to the community? Why do you think that this event belongs here? And I was like, is this for real? So I feel you, like Omowale, because they don't want, it is like they don't want you there. And I'm like, yo, I've had a successful event in Los Angeles. We had 20,000 people at our last event. Trust me, like this is going to be good for everyone. They didn't care.
I think the message is to our aspiring event planners is definitely you have to have some type of skin in the game with the community, or you just have to have some ties. You have to, have, sold the idea onto somebody that, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that because the first year we did ours, we had a connection with a council person of a district. And it wasn't the council person of the particular district that we were having the event in. It was another district, the district we had moved the festival to the following year. And that was councilman. He was a councilman at that time, Nick Mosby. He's now a delegate. So we definitely use that leverage to, get that local government piece in there. And it definitely helps because, as soon as you start making those calls, it's like, okay, cool. Now things may be a little bit easier. another important component, a lot of people that I find, because I get calls and emails and text messages all the time from folks asking about doing events, whether it's festivals, like I'm going to, sit there for 2 hours and plan your whole event out, during my busy schedule. And I'm telling them, okay, I hear all of this, but what is your budget and how are you going to get this budget? And you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to start making connections, and that's how it works. I mean, just because you have an event, Jessica, and you have an event, Omowale, and we have an event out in Baltimore, doesn't necessarily mean that you have the same resources. Well, you got to start making those connections. Who are you going to call? Who are you sending the proposal to? How much money do you need? Oh, you don't even know that yet? That's a problem. Talk about that. The numbers. Talk about that.
I'm gonna let you take this one, but you could tell her that was the first thing I asked you, right?
The numbers. What are the numbers?
Listen, let me tell you. So y'all gonna have to get into the specifics of it. I'm gonna put what I know, but
we don't gotta put no numbers out. We just gotta have people understand. Like, you need to know your numbers. Yeah. What are you spending on? Because you're gonna go broke.
That's the truth. I definitely believe that. My thing is, unless you are out there and totally well known and strong as much as y'all are, I think you got to go online and offline. I know there's some folks that are going, they're doing it online too. We try to do, go offline as well to make that connection, and that has actually worked with a lot of shops, even the shops that don't work with us, So, but anyway, let me answer your question. You have to, you got to have the funding, up front if you don't already have the relationship, with certain folks. I give you an example. We use Springer Printing. We always put Springer Printing up there, because we ain't got no money. We don't have money. We don't have no money. They got everything in it. We got lucky, this spot in Brownsville, really is just literally had, we get our flyers there, we get our marketing
and
material.
That's Springer Printing, because the marketing material is important. So that's a great connection to have.
Yes, you get that, and you drop my name, they gonna hook you up. We would go in there and we would owe them, some funds, and they would be like, "Oh, you good? Oh, y'all good?" Because they know we would come back and we would pay. We would come and we would pay. You got to have that relationship. You don't want to start out having to really you really don't want to start out having to owe. So we couldn't do that the first year, right? We really had to build that up. But Springer Printing still saw us, and the kind of and y'all probably have the same situation where they want to see Black and people of color. They want to see Black and brown folks, do great in our community, I believe, generally. So they wanted to see us be successful. 2018 was a year where, we were getting support, even within the general, vegan community. Folks were hating, but most folks were showing us love. And so, but to get resources, we had to beg, go to your elected officials, you doing the work for them. Go to them, see what funding, and start putting that in. Okay, these are the possible dollars. This is anticipated dollars. You got to have your anticipated dollars. You got to have the dollars you already have secured. You have to be able to show people that you're going to make money off of X, Y, and Z, so they know that it's not just you, asking for grant money, as well. You have to, you got to pay for people who, who's going to perform. Some folks, a lot of the folks who's going to be the grab, you want to pay for those folks. Right. Some of those folks,
because everybody ain't doing stuff for free.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing things for free. Right.
It's going to get worse. Like, my price ain't coming down.
Right. Jessica, what do you have to say about that?
No, I think what you're saying is you have to have a plan of some kind. Like, you have to come in with a plan. For me, I live and die on spreadsheets. Like, from the beginning of Vegan Street Fair, I pulled up a spreadsheet. My husband and I, we sat down and we did you know, we need X amount of tables, we need X amount of tents, we need this. And we called 15 companies and we priced out every single item. And we called the cheapest guy, because what you're saying is 100% true, especially for your first event. We called the cheapest guy and we said, listen, we have a plan. We expect for this thing to be around for a really long time. Will you work with us on what we're doing? We'll give you a little bit here and there. And then at the end of the event, we'll pay you the rest. And this guy was so down for the cause. And it was funny because, you know, he was like, he would call it Vegan Fest, which I always laughed at. Because I was like, come on, man. Like, who even says that? Like, where does this come from? You've heard the word vegan. I know you have. Anyway. So, like, it's not even like this guy was down for what we were doing. He just, I don't know. He just believes in what we were about. And he's been with us ever since, you know, for the past 5-6 years and all the events we've done. And the very first year he gave us concessions. He was like, you know what, let's do this. Because for me, it was really important to see what the budget was, where my expenses were going to be, where my monetization strategy was. Because at the time we were doing food tickets, which is the same as Taste of Chicago. And we had projections here and there. And I think for anybody that's starting an event, number one, have a plan. I can't tell you how many times I talked to an event organizer and they're like, we have no idea what we're doing. And I'm like, you can't, like, how are you going to even take the next steps when you don't know? You're spinning around in circles.
Right.
You know, you gotta step your foot forward. And it needs, for me personally, anything that I do starts with a budget. It starts with a budget, plain and simple. If you can't move from that budget, then you need to put it aside for another year until you can figure it out.
Right. So yes, the key thing, everyone, is you know, your date, definitely your budget, and then the location, because people be planning around and they don't even have a location. You got a date and then there's no location, and then it just be like, you got to have your budget. What's your location, and then the date after you figure out what's going on in your area, and if you're going to be competitive with somebody, or, you know, give somebody. Because remember, we had that issue one year. I'm a Wale with Vegan Soul Fest, and then we had to talk it out and be like, okay, wait a minute, you know, what's this date going to be? You know what I'm saying? So so all of that, you know, takes place. And then you got to build relationships around whatever that budget is on, you know, the sponsorships, and in terms of the printing. For us, it was so pleasurable for us to have the t-shirt person print the t-shirt and sell the shirts at the festival, because that relieved us of a big headache. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they're taking care of everything, selling the shirts, printing the shirts. They just need a table, and that's it, you know?
We should have did that.
I'm telling you, we need to do that. Like, then you don't have to worry about merchandise. You know, you already know you ordered this many shirts, and that's the inventory, and they sold this much. They're gonna give you your money, and you get the rest. You know, and cool. That's the less asset you have to worry about, because that's an important asset. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll take your shirts. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's right.
And it saves you staff too. Like, sometimes people don't consider that. Like, you know, when you have people that are going to help you for the event, like, that's one less person you got to put in that position that you can, you know, assign to something else if necessary. That's great. I love that.
Before I go into the next question, I just want to definitely shout out the sponsors. Shout out to Jane Unchained for allowing us this platform to have this discussion. Veg Fund, A Well-Fed World, and Women Funders and Animals Rights. Definitely want to support. Thank you for your support and your continued support. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be possible. Also want to let people know we have a ticker scrolling down there. Subscribe to NaijhaSpeaks.com. Register for the 10-day plant-based challenge coming up next month. Next month is Natural Fruit and Vegetables Month, and we have a 10-day plant-based challenge going on. You want to go to bit.ly plant-based easy, and then also download the free veg starter guide by the fabulous Tracy McQuirter. By any greens necessary, go to African American Vegan Starter Guide. The next question is, are all of your vendors 100% vegan, or do you have some veg-friendly vendors? I know at Vegan Soul Fest, we allow veg-friendly vendors to vend at our event, and we have a compliance team to manage that the day of the event. Are you all doing that? Are you open to that? Or how are your festivals and fairs run?
My events are both. The very first year that I did this event, we were boots on the ground. We probably called 200 and walked into about 200 plus total restaurants and spaces just to beg them to take a chance on this event. And it turns out that a lot of the vegan only vendors didn't have any kind of resources for what we were proposing. Because at the time, pop-ups, which are very popular right now in Los Angeles, were not a thing. So we'd walk into we would walk into an all vegan pizzeria and they'd be like, what are you talking about? We don't have tents. We don't have extra equipment. We don't have extra staff. We can't run this and this at the same time. Like, no. So it occurred to us very quickly that we couldn't, that was a parameter that we weren't really afforded. And then what it also allowed me to do, I think, is kind of take control of the narrative a little bit, because in my third year, what I decided to do was I had all these vegan friendly vendors. But I noticed that if I would see them out on the street, like a truck, for example, they wouldn't have any vegan options. And I'm like, hold on a minute. You've been doing my event for 3 years. You only bring vegan stuff when you're at my event. Like, that's when you make your whole truck vegan. Wow. I don't feel good about that, because if I see you at this event and I don't get to try your food, but I see you later, I want to try your food.
Right.
So I created this this sort of rule that any vendor that was non-vegan had to have an existing vegan menu of at least 4 items, because like at all times, because otherwise you're just taking advantage of this opportunity and making money and running away and doing what with it? Like, am I actually helping you shift your mind frame about what veganism is?
Right.
Like, I don't like that.
Because vendors will do that. They'll do that. It's an opportunity to sell stuff, and absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll never forget this, and this sticks out for me. One of my best vendors, like, I adore them to pieces. They're a vegan friendly truck. They do mac and cheese. Their mac and cheese is amazing. He was like, yeah, well, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it then. And it's his biggest event of the year. So I was like, sorry. I mean, like, that's the new rule. He came back to me 3 days later, and I shit you not, he was like, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to make a menu. I'm going to have vegan stuff at all times because I really want to be a part of your event. And do you know that man called me 2 weeks later and he said, you have changed my whole business. He said,
that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Now, the vegan items are now 30% of what I make every day. And I'm like, okay, like,
nice.
Can I, like, you actually see it working? And it made me feel like this is how I'm able to sort of control it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to make them 100% vegan all year, but bare minimum, I'm going to help them see that they can offer these options all year round, and maybe shift them to as much vegan as possible.
No, but that's the whole point. You know, that's the whole point, to get them to keep the options on the menu. Omowale, what about your fest?
With me, like, everything just got to be 100% vegan, and I personally walk around. It takes me, almost the length of the event, especially when like the city is literally, they will follow me around, and they want to. I don't know if they do this, but I'm sure they do it, right? Where the health department will go around and check each vendor, right?
Yeah. They've gotten really strict with us, especially last year. That's because it's getting too big and too many. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just that. But for us, that's just the health department, right? We know they coming. Everybody know they coming. But who comes for us? Like, the fire department tried to shut us down.
You just have all types of stuff going on in New York.
They were like, the stage needs to move over, literally like 10 inches. They said the stage needs to move over 10 inches so the ambulance can get down on the street. Now, the ambulance, or emergency cars usually can go up on the sidewalk or whatever the case. For that to happen, the stage had to collapse and open back up, which the workers don't usually do that. So everybody is doing that. But I go around and I make sure, like, what is everybody doing, and just connecting with folks, particularly the food. It needs to be 100%, vegan. If I found that, that would seem weird if I saw someone who was like just non-vegan products, or they were serving, non-vegan products outside of Black VegFest, then I'll be like, what are you doing with the vegan project?
Right.
Product now I'm like, hold on a second. I can see everything what was going on right now.
all respect, all respect. What is the next question I was going to ask? How the volunteers, because I know that's really very important when you're doing these festivals, and I know with Vegan Soul Fest every year it's a struggle trying to organize volunteers and get people there at the right time. And the volunteers we do have, they do an amazing job. Do you go through that same struggle? Because I think that'd be an important thing for planners to know about, that the volunteers, how do you organize that? Like, what is the game plan around getting the volunteers there on time doing what they need to do?
I think Jessica, you want to go first?
No, you go. My answer is real short, so you go.
Adrienne Lusker that does Texas Veg Fest, like she, I go down there and I've spoken there on a couple of occasions since 2013, but also just picking her, her mind, and she's volunteered at Black Veg Fest.
Yeah,
every single time we had it in Brooklyn. So that was huge for us. You know what I mean? It was huge for us. And then we go down there and we support the work that she's doing. I think like when we're talking about with volunteers, she does a whole video. But for us, we really try to get our form out and be very clear exactly what are we going to need. You need to know what are you going to need. Essentially, I try to educate every single volunteer, whatever I know, whatever the other organizers, know that the volunteers will also know. So there's a smooth transition. So sometimes you're outside and then sometimes you're inside, and you can kind of move back and forth. And then you just have particular plans, for maybe people can commit 4 hours. You got to say, what's the least amount of hours for folks?
Okay.
And you can't be like, you come in anytime you want to. And Nadia, another organizer, really got on me with that, and it makes so much sense. You know what I mean? So we, so you had to make sure you knew that so and so was going to be there from 8 to 4, or not 8 to 4, but 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so we would do 4-hour blocks, and we kind of learned that, and just listening, So those are some of the key things. But the volunteers is literally moving and helping your whole event, so like they're so key to this entire process.
Absolutely. Jessica, what's your short version?
My short answer is we did volunteers our very first year, and we don't anymore.
Wow.
We don't.
How do you manage?
We hire people. We pay people.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband and I are he mostly, but I kind of have dabbled. We come from TV production, so a lot of TV production we've done is like, I hate saying this, like, especially I used to be an ex-trainer. I know I was probably gonna hate that I say this. We did like the Biggest Loser finale, which is a live event. That's a live event. And when you're working in live events like that, there's a different mentality with PAs. And like the very first year I did have volunteers, and I will never do it again. I felt so terrible because like in one booth, there was a girl that was waiting for her replacement, and that replacement never showed up. And I didn't have enough people. And she felt, she couldn't leave, and she felt so bad, and I felt so bad. And it's like, I can't depend on, like, I would rather me take a loss on an event, which really, is always up in the air, and hire people that I know are going to get the job done, so that the event runs as smoothly as humanly possible. So we hire PAs. We hire people that work in typically TV production and live events, and they come in and they do their job. They're there 12 hours. They bust their asses. We've had a lot of the same people every year, because we pay, we pay people livable wages. Like, we don't play games.
Okay.
And that's how I do it. So
no, we do a combination, but we can't spend a lot of money on
That's what I was gonna
paying
say.
people. We just have people that may be leads, an extension of me and Brenda, and tasked with things to do, and then they have a collection of volunteers that work with them. So so I see what you're saying. I definitely feel you on that.
Y'all definitely getting some bread.
No, don't even think that. You got to be creative. You got to do fundraisers and things like that, and sell them bags and the teas and all that other stuff to raise money.
Of course.
We're down that last 4 minutes. Any messages that you definitely want to get out to aspiring festival planners? I want to share this group that is really good on Facebook. It's the Large Vegan Event Organizers Group. It's on Facebook. I go there a lot of times to, look at what people are asking. I may ask a question in the group. So I think it is a great group for anybody that's starting out, that wants to get an idea from a collective of large vegan event organizers. So that's definitely a good group. It's posted on all the platforms, the Jane and Shane, Land of Kush, Vegan Soul Fest, and the Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland, and also on Naijha Speaks. So if anybody wants to go there and find out about that group, please do so. Any major messages that you want to? I know we could speak about this for hours, Courtney.
Right.
I mean, because it's a lot involved. Like, this is a workshop within itself, because there's so much to it. And yes, for the gentleman that asked, could we save this live? This live is going to be on replay, share. It's never going away. So, you can find it on NaijhaSpeaks.com. It's going to be on Jane and Chain, the Land of Kush, Vegan Soul Fest, and Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland Facebook pages. It's not going anywhere. Okay. Nice. What are some final, very important messages? And, no, before we get to that, quickly tell me what's going on with the fur ban in New York. What's the update on that? Because it's two questions: upcoming projects and any last messages. Mm-hmm.
Well, the fur ban, real quick. So Corey Johnson, who's the speaker, was pushing the fur ban, and here's what actually happened with the fur industry. The fur industry was able to kind of just throw a wrench in a lot of that.
Wow.
And what they were able to do was hire some preachers. And so this is why we shouldn't always listen just anybody who's just talking. And they got to the Black community and said that this was an issue on race. You know what I mean? So the preacher went and did that. But the preacher, here's the thing at what he did to his congregation. He didn't tell them that he was getting paid from folks that he's from these interest groups, right? Right. So he just said, "Listen, come on this trip to City Hall, and y'all can be entered in a drawing to win something in a drawing." So people gonna listen to their reverend or folks, you know what I mean, whatever the case may be. They got on a bus and they went to City Hall, right? Wow. And so now they talking about something they don't even know about.
Okay, okay.
Sneakiness.
I just had to.
That should be illegal. That should be illegal.
That's a whole. Okay, well that. Any special messages for the event organizers, because that's a whole event and initiative in itself. So that's major. Jessica, what do you want to make sure everybody knows about planning festivals and events, do's, don'ts, and things like that?
Yeah, I would say one of
the things we need to get out.
I would say one of the most important things is going to be, I tell people this all the time. When you have an idea to start an event, make sure that you set yourself apart from everybody else. Because I think it's important to understand that if you're to succeed as a successful event, you have to have your own footing. You have to have your own foundation. You have to have the thing that makes you special. And that's why Black VegFest as well. That's why Vegan Soul Fest. These are names that they know exactly what you are. No one can say, oh, is it this? Is it that? Is it? Right. They know exactly who you are. And for me, having a this vegan street fair idea and this trademark and this copyright, which by the way, trademark your names if you can.
Yes.
Very important. it costs money, but it's necessary because, man, I tell you, there are people out here trying to buy me out.
Yeah. We've been faced with that. We've been faced with that and had to do a cease and desist. So yes, the trademark is very important. Omowale.
So yeah.
Real key. I'm gonna wrap it up real fast. First thing I want to say is there's 7 points of allyship for white vegan community for Black lives, especially at this time right now. So definitely, I want white folks go to blackvegfest.org and figure out what they can actually do for Black lives. Everything will be explained therein. Also, just tell folks. I really want to tell folks. Organizing, if you're the organizer for this particular event, you're responsible for who comes. What happens, what is the makeup of the event? Like, it's not magic, it's you, where you place flyers, what you put in your hashtags, what communities, you're planning the event in. You are not going to be shocked by that. When we were doing Black VegFest 2018, we let everybody know that y'all are reason, why the events Black VegFests are normally white, so we got to change this. What can you do? You have some folks that wanted to signed on and endorsed that, and then some folks who didn't. Y'all did support that. I respect that. Thank you very much. Last thing I'll say is that people just got to stop trying to do Black VegFest. Stop trying to do Black VegFest. Unless you unapologetically, Black, and you communicate with me, don't be using my name. That's the name I created. I founded that.
You gotta get that trademark, man. Jessica just said it. You have to trademark the name, and I'm gonna say you have to trademark your name so no one that can. That's the first thing that we worked on with Vegan Soul Fest. We got to trademark. So if you have a great name for your festival, trademark the name. Put the money into doing that. And the next thing is it's definitely your budget. Like I can't tell you how many times the budget issue has come up, and I see people losing lots of money. You have to budget your stuff out first. What do you need? What do you definitely need to make this thing run? And what are things that you wish to make it run? And then start raising that money. That's how you run a successful vegan fair or festival. Don't lose money in this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just my advice to the newcomers, and definitely go to that large vegan venture group. I appreciate we got to get up another time and talk when things are really happening. Right now Vegan Soul Fest is not happening. We don't know if we can push it to October or not, because everything's been shut down through August. I know, Jessica, your street fair is going to be going on, right?
Nice.
Or is no. Somebody was telling me that you were going to have
I thought it was
something.
No, we're going to be 2021. We started
2020. Okay.
Yeah, we started an online programming for right now.
Okay.
Maybe that's what they're talking about, where we have Clay Webb, Tabitha Brown.
Make sure you're following Jessica, streetfair.com, at Street Fair on Instagram, and then on Facebook. And please make sure you're following Omowale with the Black VegFest, and of course, me, not but Jane Unchained News, also Naijha Speaks, The Land of Kush, Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland, and Vegan Soul Fest. Please follow us. Thanks again, Jane. Shout out to Welfare World, Veg Fund, and Women Funders and Animal Rights. I appreciate you coming on, Jessica Omowale. I appreciate all the viewers. Please, if you have any questions, reach out to any of us.
Thank you, y'all.
Support, enjoy, and have a good night.
Thank you, y'all, for always supporting. Peace.
Yes. See y'all.